So we're going to move on to our first panel of the day. Vision, values, and velocity. This is the Middle East vision for 2071. Advancing towards this progressive future requires a lot of adaptiveness, planning, and of course, strategies. Our first panel, who are very quickly being summoned together because they weren't expecting to come on stage just yet, but they are going to be, will discuss these varied pillars. Are they looking ready, panel? Yes, they are. Please welcome, and do welcome them to the stage, Leena Khalil, the co-founder of and CEO of Mumzworld, Tatiana Rahal, the managing director of Talabat UAE, Brandon Rowberry, the CEO of Aster DM Healthcare, digital healthcare, Halima Jumani, and the founder and CEO of Kibsons. And your moderators for the session are Ben Traynor, the director of PwC Middle East, and Arima Das, the executive editor of Images Retail ME. Guys, the floor is most definitely yours.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Just making it a little dramatic here this morning. So Ben is on stage with the speakers, our panelists. I'll be here with you all to stir the conversation and make it a little tricky for them. They are three of the most known brands in the region, so make it, little tricky for them, ask a lot of questions. And why not? Because internet is growing, and it's going to be 200 million users in the region by 2023. So all of us are their customers. So let's ask them some tough questions today. So just to break the ice, how many of you have recently shopped from Kibsons? Raise your hands, guys. So Halima, those are your customers.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah. Okay, up next, how many of you know about My Aster? Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Lot many. Yeah. Next in line is Leena. So Mumzworld. How many parents here? Oh,
parents.
Lots. Amazing. So those are your customers, and let's ask them something to start off the session. Any of you who wants to kind of...
My question is for My Aster. My Aster. So
yeah,
there are a lot of issues when somebody wants to go to a clinic seeking services, long queues and all. And there are disruptions coming up. So you sit at your home and, get an appointment, get things done sitting at home. That is probably the future. But I thought it's coming very slowly. If you can tell us what My Aster is doing in order to give the convenience to the patient or the customer sitting at home, getting everything done almost other than the test. Even now, tests can be done at home. You send your test kits or the people, they do the blood test and everything is done while you are sitting at home. So I just want to understand how fast are you bringing the future to us? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is that good? Yes? Okay. And by the way, we're having just a little bit of trouble hearing up here from out there, so we'll figure that out. But if I got you correctly, it's how fast we're bringing the future to you with My Aster and healthcare. I think the crux of your question is, darn it, healthcare, why can't you be more like these other industries in terms of what they do and how fast they deliver and giving you that great consumer experience, right? In a nutshell, that's where it is. So we're crawling up. And if you ask me what's exciting about digital health and healthcare in the future, it is coming up to par with some of these other great industries and learning from them and then delivering that experience. So to answer your question, though, what is My Aster doing to provide a better level of experience, either when you're at your home or the clinic, or there's multiple check-ins and people don't know who you are, or I can't find my medical records? We're tackling that head on. In fact, if you go to the My Aster app right now, we've done things such as insurance integration. So you know, for the very first time, what you're going to pay in healthcare before you walk in. You don't shop anywhere else and not know what you're going to pay before you check out, right? Why is healthcare any different? It doesn't have to be. By the way, the integrations are really hard, so it's tough to do, but we made it happen. Being able to order those prescriptions and things at your home and go through the regulatory and compliance processes that you have to is done and integrated. Integrating at Aster, we're a very large healthcare provider. If you don't know who we are, but you probably, if you're in Dubai, you kind of can't miss us. Hospitals, clinics, pharmacy, digital health, home care. We've now connected that entire ecosystem within my Aster so you can avail all of those services depending on what you need. So you can book your appointment online, you can book a teleconsultation online, you can follow it up online, you can check into the clinic without having to wait in the queue, right? And then go beyond there. You have the transparency of payment. So those are the kinds of things you can do. If you want your blood drawn or your labs at home, you can do that too, right? So you can bring what we call healthcare home care services is all being wrapped together. Is it perfect yet? Of course not. This is digital, right? We learn as we go, but that is what's available today, and then there will be more things in the future.
Amazing. Over to you, Ben. I will not bother you anymore. I'll keep a watch and come back very soon. Yeah.
No, thank you very much. And first of all, it's an absolute pleasure to be here today with such a fantastic panel. We want to keep this as interactive as possible, so I'll be asking some questions. We want to hear as much from the audience as possible. I guess, I mean, PwC, I work at PwC, and we do our own sort of survey each year and do our own market research. And I mean, the e-commerce market in the GCC has sort of doubled between 2019 and 2022. We're pretty confident of that. And we see that growth continuing. And we expect it to largely double again by sort of 2026, 27. And UAE, KSA being the sort of key driver there. But obviously digital is impacting, it's continuing to disrupt the retail market as we know it. We're seeing now sort of all the physical retailers chasing to move online, whether that be in partnership with pure e-commerce players or with or launching and developing their own sort of online channel. But also consumers are expecting to see more digital offerings in store. They want to digitize the store experience, which we heard earlier, known as phygital. So things are moving rapidly, and really excited to hear a little bit more today about where we see things going over the next few years. So I just wanted to start off with, I guess, the first question was, obviously e-commerce has grown exponentially over the last 5 years and was accelerated by COVID. But I'd be interested to hear where each of our panelists see the e-commerce market going in the next sort of 3 to 5 years and what the major opportunities for your businesses are. I don't know, Leena, if you want to start or.
Yeah. Mumzworld has always been a solution-based offering. So although we are at 300,000 products, the idea is that we're delivering a solution to problems that the household is having. And the parenthood is evolving, and the way people parent has become more and more kind of scientific. You know, there's so much written about being a good parent or how it doesn't matter who you are. And, you know, the idea of parenting has gone into so many different compartments that offering people what they need to deliver that service to their children, because it is a service, has become more challenging. And I think hyper-personalization and giving the consumer the journey they need to kind of give them the comfort that they are being the best parent they can be is where we're going. So we're hoping to be that home of a mom or a dad where they can arrive and basically find the solutions that fit their budget and fit their outlook onto the world and their plans for their children. So even sleeping or feeding, there's so many different ways of doing it that people shop for it in very different ways. And we're hoping to use technology to reflect that in the consumer journey on our platform.
Thank you. And Halima, obviously Kibsons has been growing rapidly. How do you see, what are your plans in sort of growing sort of e-commerce aspect of the next few years?
I think solution-based is a very key word here. So Mumzworld have been around much longer before Kibsons, and I think the e-commerce journey at Kibsons started about 7 years, so we've been learning and growing. And I think what's important is that when people talk about this e-commerce as a disruption in-house at Kibsons, we always see as something that has enhanced customer retail experience. And so the concept is about understanding consumer needs, problem solving for them, bringing to them the value, and then converting that into delivery. So it's one thing to to talk about great ideas in the office and create those fancy-looking buttons, but it's another to actually convert that into an enjoyable experience where they are actually satisfied and they have that peace of mind. And I think in this space, when we speak of consumer needs and problem solving, I think the e-commerce brings platforms like us on the cutting edge of selecting fantastic organic and natural products on the planet and in connecting them to consumers regardless of where they are. I mean, I've just come back from LA and from the Natural Food Expo, and I was absolutely overwhelmed at the possibilities to see the trends on health, gut health, all kinds of fantastic gluten-free products, and I could imagine the possibilities of how we could bring that value to the consumers in Dubai, right? So that's the position we are at. How we use this position to leverage value is the future, in my opinion. And also, I think with so many players coming up, there are two key factors. One is the understanding that within this space, at the end of the day, it's an economies of scale factor. You do need scalability to drive profitability to a large extent. And I'm sorry, I lost my thought of mine. So yeah, it's about that and also about the consolidation. I think there will be some meaningful consolidation in this industry, which will enhance the consumer retail experience even further. So that's what I think it's all about. Yeah.
Thank you. And Brandon, I know you touched on it before, but obviously digital e-commerce is a very fast-growing part of Aster. How are you balancing that with the sort of core physical business, and how much effort and resources are you putting into the e-commerce side?
Quite a few on the resources side. So for healthcare, it's a bit newer. On the pharmacy side, it's easier, right? You got an e-commerce stack. You sell your pharmacy and non-pharma medications through it. That's kind of simpler. When you talk about sort of virtual care and all the services that you offer on the healthcare scene, that's a little bit more tricky because you have to go through numbers of processes and lots of integrations with very tight security, because there's nothing more secure, at least at Aster, than your patient information and your patient data. It has to be by law. It also has to be because those are the principles that we stand on. But that coming up with the solutions that are going to be part of that is a bit tricky in providing that. So we're putting in lots of resources. If you take a look at my team, for example, and the types of people we're hiring, 90% of them don't come from healthcare. They come from here and there, right? They come from food delivery. They come from many other places around e-commerce because they know how to do this and do that well and provide the patient, the consumer, the customer experience that we are looking for. We are not looking to benchmark ourselves vis-a-vis other healthcare providers, because that is not good enough. And so we're taking it up, and we're taking it up not only in one country, but multiple countries with different cultures and different expectations and those kinds of things. So add the complexity, but also the fun of it all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I'll cut in. Yeah. So you all mentioned customer journeys. So on behalf of all of them, I want to know what special are you doing in terms of customer acquisition and obviously retention. That's the whole factor that matters. So yeah.
You said, what are we doing special on customer acquisition? Was that right?
Yeah.
Customer journey.
Of course, retention.
Yeah. I think for us, customer retention has been our key to create word of mouth and to build customer acquisition. It's a bit odd, but I think at the end of the day, we challenge ourselves into how much we can deliver to our promise, how much true customer satisfaction we can achieve, and the retention is the KPI for that as such. So if the customers are coming back, it tells you something. If they're not coming back, it tells you something. So I often wonder, if you can't have retention, what's the point of investing in customer acquisition? But again, yes. So once you have a certain ratio of retention, then there are two key things. That you listen to your feedback from those retained customers, and continue to build on that learning and journey and enhancement, because continuous improvement actually is the key. You can't sort of draw a line and say, yeah, we got it. It's constantly adapting in this versatile space, and then targeting the consumers correctly. I think Tamanna spoke a lot about how to very cleverly target them without annoying them online, because you have to have that space. I'll give you a very small example. We know from our traffic that 9 p.m. to 12 p.m. is our highest order time. That's the peak time for our orders. So we can do a lot during that peak time. That's one way to look at it, right? That's your peak time, consumers are online, or I bombard them with acquisitions or what have you. But actually, it's the mom's most peaceful time, so maybe leave them alone. So yeah, things like that. Genuinely understanding the consumers goes a long way. So it's a balance, I feel.
Thank you. Sorry, Lee.
So I think looking at Mumzworld is a platform, and it's built on 3 pillars: the product, of course, and the community and the content. And one of the areas where we feel a lot of pride is that our community of moms who basically are, hardcore followers who squeeze every bit of value out of the platform, and the viral effect of the information they share and the referral is a big part of who we are. And we really pride ourselves that we're helping moms build that community and connecting with each other to help each other through a very, very difficult learning journey. So that's a big part of our retention and acquisition. And we use our content to basically drive that. So if you look at just baby-related content in Arabic, we'd probably be the biggest site. Because if you're an Arabic speaker and you don't read English, there's very few places you can go to help you solve for your children's problems. And so content and community are key drivers in onboarding and retention of customers. Of course, it's a given that our service has to be impeccable and that you have a lot of trust in our performance. We basically take that as a given. Everything else we do is just enhancing your motherhood journey.
For us at Aster, it seems to be, our hypothesis that seems to be proving out is people care about the entire journey of healthcare. What I mean by that, it's not just hospitals, it's not just clinics, it's not just pharmacy, it's not just home care, etc. The connection of all of those things together is very important, and that's what we're seeing coming through, and that's why we're seeing sort of the stickiness and the reordering and rebooking, etc. As people, when they come on, they usually come into Aster either through a pharmacy or through a clinic. They can do that in the store or online. That's very simple, but the reason they stick around is because the rest of that is simple. All my family's healthcare information is right here. I don't need to go somewhere else. And so that's kind of what we're going with.
Thank you. And I guess just while we're talking about the consumer, consumers now are getting ever more demanding. They want things sooner, they want stock to be available, and we know that supply chains have been impacted over the last sort of 18 months. How do you sort of balance that in your business between sort of giving, because there's a cost associated with getting things to consumers quickly, how do you sort of balance between keeping the unit economics right and providing that customer experience as well?
Yeah, fun one.
So that's a challenging one for us. Last year was the first year ever at Aster we offered express delivery at all in the pharmacies, and with that, and we have a density of stores, for example, here in Dubai, where we can do that. We can treat all the stores like mini distribution centers. We have a distribution center. Before that, it was either 1 or 2 day delivery out of the distribution. So managing the stock differently than they had, managing an operations team that actually has to come up to speed to how do you do that in a store versus in a distribution center was quite challenging for us. But now it is there and it is being delivered. So it hasn't had a material impact aside from there's greater flow through, and we understand which products, which areas of Dubai, for example, want what, when.
I think one of the key things about what is a good service, I believe if you define a good service is meeting the customer expectation. So if the expectation is to get it in 15 minutes, you better deliver on the expectation. And it's something interesting. I did spend the day yesterday with a 17-year-old, my daughter, and one of the things she was telling me about e-commerce, she's like, you know, Mom, I really hated it when I ordered that really expensive mirror from my pocket money, and it came the next day. And I'm like, okay, why? And she said, you know, the whole anticipation and the excitement, and it's all my pocket money for the whole month, and it arrived within 12 hours, and it took away a lot of that excitement. And it's interesting because now the concept of using online to push people back into the store is really big, and that's because they want to give you the full retail experience, because there is something to say to getting the retail experience. So it's all about your expectation. If your expectation is to have a drawn-out luxury experience and you get it with instant commerce, you're not going to be satisfied. And if you need medicine for your child because they have a fever and you don't get it, you're not going to be happy. So it's actually drawing out the consumer expectation and journey and what they want and delivering that. And Mumzworld delivers luxury products, and we deliver entry-level products, and we also deliver must-have everyday products. So designing the supply chain so it kind of mirrors the customer expectation is a challenge, but we are working very hard to make it happen.
In the grocery space, it's more interesting. You know, everyone knows that the value proposition or the expectation in terms of delivery is rising from one day to a few hours to a few minutes to maybe a few seconds, right? So this space is very demanding. And in terms of cost as a business, the costs definitely outweigh the benefits as such. However, what we've also noticed is that these 20-minute, 5-minute deliveries are typically used by consumers for their fillers. So it's not really for their weekly shopping. And something that they forget and something that they want. So yes, those fillers are there, they exist, and the number of stores we have per kilometer allow for that, which is fantastic. But when we opened that on Kibsons, we noticed, we also offered a 2-hour delivery slot, and you'll be very surprised that there are consumers who are willing to pay for that quick tomato sauce or some Parmesan cheese on their spaghetti. However, 80% is still our weekly shopping consumers. So they do understand the value. They do take the time to search. They do take the time to compare prices, and they do want to save that 8 dirhams on delivery if they can. I mean, that's the pattern we understand from data.
Super interesting.
You know, Leena, I've never heard someone say they wanted their delivery slower. Aside from your daughter.
Yeah, I think there is something to say about getting something through an experience or designing an experience. And one of the things that we see that there are products that are very limited in the market, and they're actually not that useful for a parent. But because they're limited, and there's a value, and okay, you're going to wait 3 weeks to get it because they're limited. People like that. People like that feeling of, it's not going to come quick, so not everyone's going to have it. And actually, it's a special experience for me. But it depends on the item.
Yeah. For example, Christmas trees at Kibsons were delayed until it was the right time for the family and the surprise and what have you. So yes, we've seen that. Why did you deliver my Christmas trees before schedule? And you've ruined the surprise of my kids. Yes, we've seen that too.
That's really fair.
Yeah.
I can ask questions all day.
Anyone wants to?
I don't know. I just want to make sure that if anybody
add to
has
the
any
quick commerce debate. What's your experience? Yeah.
Hi, good morning, and thanks for wonderful insights on e-commerce. My question is for Halima. Halima, I understand Kibsons started like farm to plate kind of a business model. My question is, what are the challenges in farm to plate business model, and whether it is really profitable?
Sorry, that has to be my favorite question today. So I don't know how many people here are aware that Kibsons e-commerce is what we are known for in the recent years, but the family business has existed for over 40 years in Dubai. Okay, and it, I think, started with the natural need of food at a time when the agriculture in this part of the world was not allowed by weather. So we have been the wholesalers, the direct importers and distributors in this region for so many years. What that actually means is that the team would travel around the world in the agricultural space, right, and build those connections with farmers, which are a completely different species compared to people like us living in city life, and build trust and develop that trust over years, and then balance that with the pricing of the northern hemispheres, the southern hemispheres, the currency fluctuations and what have you, to bring the best value for the people in Dubai. Now, there is 25 years of learning there in terms of how the farming space works. And anyone here from that part of the world or that industry would know that margins are very, very thin, right? It's a shocker for us, but net annually, we look at 2% and we are happy, which threw all my MBA financial learning out of the window. I couldn't understand when I joined, but that's what it is. And therefore, to deal with perishables and to make numbers work were the two key factors that kept us alive. And you know, we've been here long enough within the wholesale space to see people, companies come and go. So yes, it is challenging. When we entered the e-commerce space to bring that wholesale value to consumers, it was fantastic in a way because we in a sense, we disrupted the pricing of the industry. I'll give you an example. There was a time when blueberries were sold in retail for 22 dirhams a punnet, and Kibsons was the first to bring it at 9 dirhams a punnet at a wholesale value, right? And we made money, but then the concept was we forced ourselves and everyone in the industry to now make money at 9 dirhams. So therefore, we pushed ourselves and everyone else to become efficient and economical. So driving value externally and internally. And that's very important, and that will continue to be important in that scale. I've spoken about economies of scale before, but I'd also like to mention that, you know, you're going to talk about AI. I was going to say this later, but I'll say it now. AI and data learning is becoming, everybody talks about how do you apply that to consumer behavior and probably increasing revenue and increasing the data basket. At Kibsons, because we come from what I just described, the whole journey, we came from the whole journey, we actually applied that learning internally to automate our systems from an internal procurement point. So today, 60% of Kibsons SKUs are all automated in terms of our purchase orders. So there's no human behind it. The system uses the data learning to place POs. So you can imagine the savings we have therefore created internally. Now, this is not something you would know unless you were part of our team, which is a very small team now, right? If you think about it, it's not just reducing cost, but what it's also doing is it's driving the metrics of consumer availability. So anyone recently shopped at Kibsons will notice that our availability has gone up, our shortages have gone down, and that's driving value, in my opinion. So we sit on a seesaw of shortages and wastages. So if you order too much, as a company you have a wastage, it goes into your costs. If you order too little, then the consumer does not get the product on time and they are dissatisfied. So to balance that seesaw is the trick in the industry, and to do it with cost efficiency will drive the bottom line profitability. Sorry, it's a long roundabout answer, but I was trying to explain in a way that people who are not familiar can understand.
I think we have one more question. Yeah.
No. Hi, it was an interesting session. So I wanted to know how, it's a question to the panelists, like how do you use operations, research, optimization and data science to improve the operational efficiency of your business? Hello?
Could you say that one more time? We're having a difficult time.
I want to know, how do you use operations, research, and data science to improve the operational efficiency of your business?
What?
Operational research and data science to improve what we're doing.
To improve your ROI and operational efficiency.
There we go.
So I think, again, so dealing with 300,000 products, just understanding the frequency and the seasonality of when the items are critical, and using just AI and just all the data we have to just physically change how we operate is very important. So we actually physically change the flows of our teams on the ground using all this data, and we do that on a seasonal basis. So we probably do a big shift about 6-7 times a year, because we do hit a lot of seasons, and we are fluctuating with the journey of the mom. So whatever the mom is doing, she's going on holiday. If you walk into our warehouse, you know the mom is going on holiday. If it's back to school, we look like a back to school shop. So we actually move the warehouse levels, and we move everything on the ground based on the data we have. So it's not only used to purchase, it's not only used to provide better consumer experience, but it also provides a better experience internally for everybody working at the firm to be more efficient. And if you're more efficient and there's less leakage in every activity you do, then overall you're saving.
One of the ways we're using the data science is to ensure that our patients are being more proactive with their own health. Meaning, if you're under these kinds of conditions, these are the types of things you may want to be using, taking, etc. Also helping our doctors to understand what that is, and then feed that up. I'll say we're not perfect at it yet, but it is coming along the more and more we know, because we have millions and millions and millions of patients.
Thank you. And I guess just keeping with the theme of technology, I think we've heard a lot of how it's sort of, you're monitoring the business and being able to track consumer behavior. How much investment are you planning in terms of integrating technology, automation into your warehousing, logistics? Is that something which is sort of top of your mind, and do you think that will play a big part in your business going forward?
So the warehouse automation piece is newer for us because we haven't had the volume before now, but it's actually something I was just on a meeting with yesterday around which systems we're putting in place, which warehouses, how is that going to be leveraged, et cetera. So yes, it is very much top of mind for us. And then the RPA, the robotic process automation of just all of the other operational components that we're doing is on the same track.
I think looking at the equation of manpower cost versus automation investment, and we remain in a very kind of cost-effective region. So we're not in London, we're not in Germany, and therefore just that equation, we might need more volumes to get there, but we do incorporate some automation. But the full automation you see in some of the supermarkets in the UK, there's a reason why they needed to go that way very quickly, because the equation between manpower cost and investment in automation is an easier equation.
I completely agree. So where labor costs are high, and other than UK, for example, Japan is a fantastic example where they have had this for 20 years, and I couldn't believe how amazing it was and how smoothly they run it. In this part of the world, economies of scale are important, but I think that if your business is scalable and it makes sense in terms of the ROI of investment, it's a possibility, and I think that's where the future is headed. But it will be slower in this region because we are still cost effective in general.
Yeah, no, makes sense. And obviously there's a lot going on at a macro level at the minute. Inflation is, I mean, we've seen that across the world, but especially in the supply chain coming into the region, freight costs, that's sort of normalizing a little bit now, but now you have interest rates sort of significantly higher than this time last year. How do you, obviously e-commerce has grown exponentially, as we said earlier, but how do you see these factors? Do you think this will play into how e-commerce and your business will sort of adapt going forward, or and what sort of things are you thinking about with the macro environment as it is?
Well, what comes right to mind is which bank is all my money in? No, sorry. As an aside, I've dealt with SVB Bank for decades, and sorry to see that happen with many good friends. There's, at least in the United States, there's probably not an entrepreneurial or venture capital center that doesn't have an SVB right in the middle of it. So that's kind of timely right now, but it's sure there. The environment that we're in now and moving into, in some ways, is actually a little bit helpful, frankly, for Aster. We serve sort of the middle and lower tiers. We focus on accessible, affordable healthcare, primarily across a number of different countries, and thus giving people more access to the care that they may be priced out of the market other places is something that drives, and I think through digital, through the My Aster app and other mechanisms, that actually helps people get the access that they need. And I think governments are also under the pressure to help to lower the cost of care, and that's also something that we can help out with.
Thank you.
So there is a kind of tug of war at the moment between just the supply chain challenges and the cost of supply chain and all the uncertainty around what's going on in the world, plus the challenge on the cost of living and just basic goods. The cost of basic goods is going up. So how do you basically provide the consumer with something they can afford in a very critical environment, yet all your costs are going up and even availability is being challenged? So the consumer is being trained to expect more, yet the whole climate is saying to you, oh, you know, the world can't deliver more. So you really have to have that balance of what do you promise the consumer, and you have to come clean on your promise. So I think this kind of drive to overpromise and to give the best, maybe in the long term is not going to be supported, because as retailers, and all retailers are being challenged from multiple different sides.
Absolutely. The interest rates are going up, the cost of borrowing is going up, and if the salaries are not increasing in proportion to this cost, then there is this growing middle class that is very savvy on that budget, and they're looking to save, they're looking to compare, and it hurts them. And I can tell you from a grocery platform that even minor increases on our platform are absolutely noticed. You're not going to believe this, but we play with the price of strawberries, 1 dirham, and we see a difference in sales. So it's true that the consumers are measuring, looking for value, and wanting to save that money, and that's your volume. That's the volume business as well, right? You can't really ignore that anymore. So driving efficiency, and retailers are being pushed, and I think being lean in an environment, any Six Sigma people here, is absolutely important, and integrating that with technology will be the key.
So what's the price of strawberries today? I'm going to benchmark you tomorrow, see if that dirham happens.
See, that's a typical customer right here.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience?
Quick question. I think we've discussed about profitability. You able to hear me? We discussed about profitability. We discussed about growth. But I think another important aspect to keep this engine going is innovation. You yourself know consumers in this region are evolving, but in a very different way. So looking west and looking east is not going to help for a very long time. At the same time, innovation is also at the center of attracting talent to this region, which also we are at a dearth of right now. It would be good to know your thoughts, what each of you are doing respectively in your organizations to drive innovation.
You know, Tamanna, when I was listening to your slides and what you said,
just one more question.
I could not agree more that culture and the mindset of your team is just absolutely so critical. And change management has been a big topic for a long time. It's a science of its own. People who have done their master's degree here will know that it's a topic of its own. But when you come down and you actually look at corporates, and we are a family business, so in theory we respond and adapt much faster than a larger corporate as such. And even then, I feel that it's that change and that mindset on innovation, inculcating that, culturing that takes time, nurturing that takes time, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a team effort, and implementing is even more a team effort. So that's key. To get to think about how you can shift that. And the other thing is to not just think of ideas, but create examples, even if they are small, medium, in terms of how these innovative ideas come to life, and then measure the value and motivate the team, both internally and externally, that look, it actually works, and drives profitability, measure that. So the KPIs traditionally used to be about, your classic sales growth and net profit, but internally, the more KPIs you have towards driving innovation is very, very important.
There's no more.
Just going back, one of the great things about working at Mumzworld as one of the team members is that it's a passion project for the founders, and it's a passion project for a lot of our team, because we actually have a very big cohort of parents. So you always hear things like, oh, that campaign is perfect for me. So people, it's almost like they're doing a product for themselves. And we have a lot of dads actually who have younger children. So we have 2 dads in the firm who are expecting now. And it's funny because every time, someone's expecting, they become more passionate about everything we do. They're like, no, don't do it that way. No, that's not good enough. You need to improve. And that's a lovely, lovely environment to be in, because one, the consumer is present 24/7 in everything. And 2, it keeps you on your toes. And that, it's been a long time since I've had a child in the house. Now the 3 run the house and I just show up. But it's such a nice environment, because new parents it's like they're trying to do their job a triple star, because they think that this job is so precious. So they drive everybody for quality and efficiency. So that for culture, we're very, very lucky. In terms of driving innovation, one of the things that we say is that if you're doing your job the same way every day, you've lost so much value. So every time you feel like you've done the same thing over and over again, look at how you do it better. So this notion of continuous improvement is very important, because otherwise we don't progress. Every little continuous improvement step anyone does in any process or on a bigger scale impacts the whole organization and the whole value chain.
With regards to how we're driving innovation, it has to do with in variety and prioritization. I mean, right now in health and health tech, there is a torrent of things coming through, just all the time. And so just trying to prioritize what's right for the customer, the consumer, the patient at which given time with, of course, limited resources that we all have is quite a challenge. How we tackle that is with variety, right? Take a look at the team that I've had the opportunity to hire. They come from 5 different continents, from all kinds of different industries, and they bring that rich experience in with them. We have regular cadences of making sure we're with the consumer, with the patient, et cetera. That helps us then to better prioritize what we're going to go after, because there's only a few of those things that you can actually make happen, but that's how we try to run our funnel.
So Mumzworld hire parents, and we hire foodies and chefs and vegans and keto lovers, and that's what we do. So we have a natural environment of love and passion.
Hi, Brandon. My name is Ritesh. My friends calls me Retail Ritesh. My question is, you are in a business, Brandon, which is very different from the other panelists. You are, according to me, in a business of people-centric sort of a business, wherein, for example, I give you my personal case. I visit Aster branch in Sharjah to see one GP called Dr. Chandra. And last month, Dr. Chandra shifted to other clinic, and I have also moved along with him, because your business is built on a specialist with whom the patient have trust and they relate to. I don't want to consult any other doctor other than Dr. Chandra. And so what happens, how do you face this kind of challenges wherein a customer or a patient moves along with the doctor and your entire investment in your digital assets, like you have created Aster Help and my Aster, goes down the drain?
So you're saying, so this particular doctor you're referring to left Aster and went to another clinic, or went to another clinic at Aster? A different clinic, yeah. So that does happen, right? So in healthcare, some of us get very attached to our doctors. When you look across the data, that's not the lion's share of people, actually, but it's a number of people. And the reverse is also true. So there are doctors that I might like that are not part of the Aster ecosystem that then happen to, come and be employed by Aster, et cetera. How we do that from a digital standpoint is, from a patient standpoint, all of those wonderful family medical records and everything you have with Aster to try and create that stickiness with you and try to give you a better experience in your family is all there. right, in the My Aster app and the Aster ecosystem. We obviously can't control where the doctor's going to go, but when a doctor comes into that ecosystem, we can then surround him or her with patients who have all of that content and built in with them. But that's an interesting challenge that I don't think is going to be easily solved by a digital solution.
Morning. I have two questions. One is for Brandon about the healthcare professionals that you work with. So how do you disseminate relevant content and information to them so that they can provide relevant, let's say, solutions for the customers?
Here, hey, come up here for just a second so we can... I'm just struggling understanding. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is about healthcare professionals, right? And in providing them the right information and content so that they can serve the customer with the best solution. How do you help disseminate the right information for the professionals that are helping customers? Second question is more general for everyone about driving loyalty.
Gotcha. Let me take that first question then. So how, and a great question, one that didn't know we were going to touch on tonight, but this morning, yeah.
You know, you can have the mic actually.
How we try to do that is we create case studies and other studies out of the healthcare clinical content and then disseminate that throughout the Aster ecosystem and well beyond. For example, you might go to one clinic and see one doctor and then they need to refer you to someone to really take care of your case. And that might not be Aster. That might be somebody else, but they might refer you to someone at Aster, and thus we share all of that content and push that content forward across the ecosystem of healthcare, not just within Aster. So some of that you can get in the future, not yet, on the My Aster app, but you can certainly get it via our web channels. And if you're in the healthcare ecosystem, you probably already know where you can get that because we likely push that to you. So that's one of the ways we're going to do it. That's actually coming up in one of our new releases. And when that happens, I'll be very excited. That's on the doctor side. On the customer, consumer, patient side, there's that as well, right? How do you know where to go? How do you navigate? Because people, when they Google it today, they either get the Mayo Clinic or WebMD or something like that, and then they follow that chain down there where they need to go. And Aster we are inserting ourselves into that ecosystem as well and pushing that clinical content so that patients can make an educated choice for what are the relevant processes today and which one they would likely need to choose and where Aster has specialties and where we don't. And your second question? Loyalty. How do we drive loyalty, everyone?
I would summarize and say by delivering on that promise and creating that peace of mind every time. It's the consistency that drives the game. And in today's, when we started about 7 years ago, I think people were relatively more forgiving because, there were not so many options around. Now there are so many options, and one bad experience, people are willing to move away or try something different. So yeah, they are relatively more unforgiving today than before. So you have to bear that in mind that you make fewer promises and deliver them rather than make a lot of promises and fail 50% of them. So that is definitely the key for loyalty. And also quality. I think people today cannot and do not want to compromise on quality because it's a competitive space, there is a better value proposition around the corner. So you have to deliver the basic quality that we often take for granted. But keeping at it and enhancing it and thinking about how to deliver more quality, I think that's a continuous improvement for companies.
Just taking a step back, I think there is two models at play at Mumzworld. So we are a replenishment model, which is very much like Kibsons and Aster, where you're replenishing something you've used or you need. And then we are kind of a nice-to-have model. So we have a lot of items that you're going to buy them once, or you're not actually going to need them, but you'd like to have, matching bedding for your child's room. So the two behaviors are very different, and the loyalty of each is very, very different. So a replenishment model is super, super price sensitive. So very sensitive to quality of service and how long does it take for me to get the wipes and the diapers into the house, so I don't have to worry about that. It's a different thought process into, oh, you know what? I just found those really cute bed sheets I can't find anywhere else that match the wallpaper. That's a different shopping experience. And I think the the consumer loyalty for those two is very, very different. And we make sure that our promises in terms of our physical delivery promises and the quality of the product is always up to the mark. So we are winning the consumer on the replenishment model. But when you come to the lifestyle model, definitely having the widest range, having newness, being at the top of innovation. You know, if it launches in New Zealand, where there is a lot of baby innovation, by the way, or it's like a Australian back-to-school product, innovation also, a hub of innovation, it's going to be on Mumzworld. And the reason why it's going to be on Mumzworld, because the mom knows it launched, because that's all she does. She's trying to get the best for her kids, so she knows what happens in Scandinavia in the baby industry. She knows the latest breast pump. They even tell us that model's old, that's 6 months old, you should have had the new one. So just making the mother feel like she is part of this community of innovation, and she, you know, can tap into that support system, drives a lot of the loyalty. So just understanding all the different journeys of the consumer, you will be able to drive loyalty.
So loyalty in healthcare is pretty different. It's mostly been offline up until now. Now we're trying to drive it more phygital. Is that the word? Phygital, yes. Yeah. More phygital, like the gentleman over here mentioned. He follows his doctor from Aster to somewhere else because that's who he's particularly loyal to. With the new digital ecosystem that we've created, where you've invested time in not only getting yourself registered and going through that process, but your family members as well. All of those records and healthcare you have now in one place. Difficult then to sort of take that beyond and adding other sort of value-added services that you might need throughout that journey. The bottom line is, look, we're a healthcare company. We're not going to be your number one app that you always go to every single day. That's not the type of shopping experience we like. But when your family is in need and you need things from us, we want to be there for you and provide that entire ecosystem. And we believe that's a fine thesis for loyalty for the future.
Thank you. I have a clock in front of me which says we have 40 seconds left. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I guess just any final remarks. I mean, first of all, thank you, everyone. I think it's been super insightful, and I'll be taking a lot away from it. Any final remarks before we wrap up?
I just wanted to add that, yeah, that point is very valid. Often people in businesses focus on the high revenue or the fastest selling items, and this is quite often forgotten, but it is true. There are customers who are loyal, and loyalty is key to your long-term revenue and your your customer retention. I have had feedback, people saying that there is that one particular vegan or gluten-free brand that I can't find anywhere else. So like they focus on investing, traveling around the world and finding the most innovative product in your space. We do the same. We travel around the world to see what's the most innovative product for gut health, for health across the world, and bring that. That's why cutting edge procurement is key to drive that, even those small pockets of consumers who come to you just for that one brand, and then you know what, they might say, oh, the strawberries are still good, let's pick them along the way. So your fast moving items can go faster with your slow moving but brand loyal items and those customers. That is key.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you again. Really appreciate the time, and thank you to our audience. We hope you enjoy the next couple of days. I know there's a lot of fantastic workshops on and talks as well. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy the next couple of days.
Good to be with you. Thanks.